Welcome back, Dawn. This is the advanced admin session where we're going to learn all about Sales Cloud applications, and this session is going to get started in 3 minutes time. Okay, it's time. Welcome everybody to the advanced admin room where we're going to be learning all about Sales Cloud applications. Your presenter this morning is Caitlin Wynn, and we also have Tracy Winder-Connect. She's our subject matter expert and she'll be helping out in this session too. If you'd like to ask any questions to Tracy, do please feel free to use the question and answer chat function, the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We also have an area where you can chat with me, which is the room chat. And just note that the room chat is public to everybody. We'll also be opening up the floor to some of your chat questions at the end. So we will have 10 minutes at the end to answer some of those common questions that we get in during the session. So I'm going to hand over to you straight away to Caitlin. Take it away.
Thank you, Jackie. Welcome again, everyone. I'm Caitlin Wynn. I'm a principal instructor on the Trailhead team. And as Jackie mentioned, you are joining us for an advanced admin cert prep session on Sales Cloud applications. Specifically, we are going to focus on products and price books, then talk about product schedules, and kind of put everything together with a quote. If you're on Twitter, I would love to connect with you, hear your feedback about the session, and of course, celebrate with you when you pass your exam. Now, for those who have attended Salesforce events before, you've probably seen this forward-looking statement. And what it's telling you is that Salesforce is a publicly traded company. We want you to make purchase decisions based on features and functionality that are currently available, rather than any future functionality that may come up today. Now, because this is a cert prep session for the advanced admin exam, I wanted to bring in the relevant objective that I'll be talking about today. So if you go out to Trailhead and you go under the Credentials tab and find that main page for the Advanced Admin exam, what you'll see is an exam guide. And under the exam guide, there is a list of exam objectives. And that's actually under the exam outline, I should clarify. On that outline, you'll see a breakdown of the different topics. And one of those is our Sales Cloud applications. Now that portion is 10% of the overall exam. And we're focused just on this first bullet point today, focusing on products and price books, schedules, and quotes. Now, before we jump in and start talking about these terms, I want to give you a little bit of context, kind of a background scenario. So I'll talk about the terms. You'll see a series of slides, and then I'll get in and do some demo in a Trailhead playground. So you can see some of these features in action. These features, really any feature you're using when you're studying for the exam, helpful to see it with a hands-on perspective, see it in action, but I think it makes a lot of sense with these topics in particular. So for our background, let's say that I work for a fictitious company called AW Computing, and we sell office equipment. And a stakeholder at this company, they recently came to me and they said, we're trying to find an easy way to offer different prices to our nonprofit customers. So think of that scenario and let that inform what we're learning about with products and price books. So let's start covering some important terms that you'll want to be familiar with. First, we have products. And products are the specific items, the specific goods or services that your company sells. So if AW Computing sells office equipment, we might sell things like laptops, desktops, printers, and we would manage those with products. So maybe a specific product is a specific brand of laptop, a specific brand of printer. But maybe we sell services as well. And those could be warranties on some of our products, maybe warranties on your laptops, or maybe different levels of support plans or service level agreements. Now, when you have products, they are organized into price books. And a price book is simply a list of products with their associated prices. In a little bit, I'll get into standard and custom price books. But what you need to know right now is that your standard price book is what you get out of the box. It's all of your products with their custom prices, standard prices, or what we call their default prices. So I'll say that one more time since I messed it up. Standard price book, all of your products with their standard or their default prices. Now in your org, maybe you really just have one set of prices that you offer most of the time to all of your customers. And if that's the case, you might not need custom price books, but maybe you have different groups of customers, and those different groups of customers need different sets of prices. In that case, you can create a custom price book to have prices or products with their custom prices that we call their list prices for different groups of customers. Now you see here that term product family. If you want, you can use this field. It's a standard field on your product object, and it allows you to group your products into specific groups. So here we have product families by type of product: laptop, desktop, printer. Those are our different product families. So this can be helpful for grouping products together. And also if you use forecasting, which we're not talking about today, but you will want to be familiar with for the advanced admin exam. For forecasting, one of your options for a forecast type is to forecast by product family. So we can get an idea of how that expected revenue is looking like it will come in based on our different product families. Then when you add those products to price books, they are added as a price book entry. And a price book entry is simply a product with its associated price. Now for a minute, try to put yourself in the shoes of a sales rep. And you're working on a particular sales deal, which you're tracking with an opportunity record. And you also want to track the different products and or services that you are working to sell. And maybe it's just one particular product, maybe it's just one particular service. But if there are multiple and you need to keep track of things like the quantity and the price and the product code, you would track all of that with products by adding those products to your opportunity. When I add products to an opportunity, the first thing I need to do is select the price book from which to add my products. When you do this, all products have to come from the same price book. And your big takeaway here is that if you create custom price books, it needs to be a complete list of all of the products that you could sell to any customer who you would sell from that price book. You cannot mix and match price books on the same opportunity. And Salesforce will warn you about this. We'll see that warning when I get in to do my demo in just a moment. So I'll select my price book, then I will add my products. Now, another thing to note when you're adding products from a price book, the options available will be those whose currency matches the currency of the opportunity. So if you're adding products to an opportunity and it seems like maybe some are missing, you'll want to make sure that there are price book entries for the currency that the opportunity has listed as the opportunity currency. When a product is added to an opportunity, it becomes an opportunity product. Now, if you've worked with opportunities before and you've worked with them before adding products, you might have filled in the amount field or edited that amount field. And that's another standard field. It's just what we think we're going to bring in with this particular sales deal. Now, before you add products, that amount field is something that you can edit. So you can make adjustments to the amount as you need to. But once you add products to your opportunity, the amount field is no longer editable. It becomes the total of the amount of the products, the price of those products, times the quantity, and it adds it all up for all of the products that you're adding, no longer editable. Now, earlier I mentioned our standard and custom price books. And again, in your own org, you might not necessarily need custom price books. Kind of depends on what your business requires. But you do want to know about them for the exam and a use case for when you would use those custom price books. A standard price book is all of your products and their default or their standard prices. A custom price book could be a subset of your products, or it could be all of your products. Because remember, if you're adding products to an opportunity from a custom price book, they do all have to come from the same price book. Now, custom price books allow you to offer different prices to different market segments. Think about direct sale versus resale. And an example I've borrowed from a colleague that makes a lot of sense for most people is think about if you go to a hardware store and you're going to purchase a light bulb. You are likely to pay the price that is listed on the shelf with the light bulb. But what do you think someone in the construction business or a general contractor pays? They might have a different price that they pay because maybe that hardware store offers one set of prices for resale, a different set for direct sale. Now, maybe you have different price books for different regions, different market segments, different levels of customer. Or in our case, I'm going to create a custom price book for our nonprofit customers. Now, you are likely aware that Salesforce is very relationship driven. And I think this is a helpful way to view the relationships between the objects that we've talked about thus far. One opportunity can have multiple products associated with it. And one product can be added to multiple opportunities. When that product is added to the opportunity, it is added as an opportunity product. And that is that object that ties those two together. Similarly, one product can be added to multiple price books, and one price book probably has multiple products added to it. A product added to a price book is a price book entry. And again, that price book entry is the object that ties the two together. Next, what we're going to do here is go ahead and shift gears, and I'm going to start a demo. so you can start to see some of these concepts in action. Now, what I have pulled up on my screen is just my Trailhead playground. I did just a little bit of prep work before our session today, created a couple products to go along with my scenario, but everything I'm doing is something you can do in your own Trailhead playground. So I'm going to do this as a demo. No need to follow along, but if you haven't spent hands-on time with these concepts, I recommend taking the time to do that, even if it's just kind of coming up with your own scenario like I've done here. Now, one of the terms we talked about, product family, I'd like to use product families, so I need to add values to that. I'm starting here on the front end of my tool, and let me zoom in just a little bit so y'all can see better on my big screen. And I want to get into setup. So clicking my gear icon, I'll go to setup. And then making my way to my object manager, going to my product object. So listed alphabetically, there's my product. Going to fields and relationships, and there's my product family field. So you can add your own product families based on what you sell, but I'm going to use the product families that we saw on our slide a few minutes ago. Under my product family pick list values, I'll go ahead and select new, and I'm going to say laptop, desktop, and printer. Now, if each of these are on a separate line, it will add them as separate pick list values. So now I have these, and I can select a product family value when I create a product. Going back into the front end of my tool, I'll go ahead and create my opportunity, and then we'll come back to add products to it in just a moment. So under my opportunities, I'm going to create a new one. And we will say that Edge Communications is one of our nonprofit customers. And I'll just call this Edge Office because I'm going to sell them some office equipment. Now there's that amount field that I mentioned. No products added to this opportunity yet since I haven't even created it. So this amount field is something editable. I can fill this in if I want to, and after I save, I could still edit. I'll go ahead and set the close date to the end of the month, set my stage to prospecting for now, and then I'll save that record. So I'll come back to it when I add my products. The next thing I want to show you is what it looks like to add a product and add that standard price. So I'm going to use my app launcher. I'm going to look for products. I do have to spell it correctly. And here you can see some of the products I created ahead of time. Now your Trailhead playgrounds come with some products created, so you can play around with those if you want to, or you can create your own. In the top right-hand corner, I'll go ahead and click New. And I think I want to create an AW desktop, my active box, and I'll use my product code here. And then I can select the product family. So desktop. And in real life, I would probably add a good description here of this product, but for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and click Save. Now my product is created, but you'll notice I didn't associate a price with it yet. So I need to set the standard price, the default price, and I'll do this on my Related tab by clicking this option to add a standard price. We'll say the standard price is $1,000, and you can use 1K, 1M, 1B if you want to abbreviate. So 1K gets me to 1,000. I like to use that so I don't have to count my zeros. So there's my product. Now it has its associated standard price. The next thing I need to do is going back to that scenario, offering a different set of prices to our nonprofit customers. Using my app launcher, this time I'm going to look for price books, and in the top right-hand corner, I will create a new one. I'm going to call this nonprofit. I'll check the box to make it active, and I'll say for our nonprofit customers. Now there's no option to check that this is a standard price book. Salesforce knows that it's not because it's one that I'm creating. And then I'll click Save. So I have my price book, but there are no products associated with it yet. If I click on my Related tab, I need to add products and they will be added as price book entries. So I'll click to add my products. And here's where I need to be really mindful. What are the products that I could be selling to my nonprofit customers? So it might be a subset of your products. It might be all of them. Now, again, for the sake of brevity, I'm not going to add all of the products. I'm going to add my desktop, my printer, my laptop, and a service level agreement. And then I'll click next. Here's where I get to set the list or custom price for these products in my custom price book. So if this is for nonprofit customers, these prices will probably be a little bit lower. Now, normally, I would probably be working with stakeholders to set these prices. I'm kind of just setting them arbitrarily here for the purpose of my demo. Maybe not that low. We'll go 24,000. So these are my custom prices, my list prices, and then I'll click Save. Last thing I want to do before we get back into our slides is come back to my opportunities. Click on that Edge Office opportunity. And again, if you look at my details, that amount field is still editable. I don't have any products yet. But if I come to my products related list, I'll click the down arrow and I can go directly to add products or choose a price book. And here I actually like to go directly to add products, and here's why. Salesforce still prompts me, still says, okay, you're adding products from where? From which price book? And I do want to add them from my nonprofit price book that I just created. And then here's that other warning that I mentioned. You can add products only from the price book that you associate. So only the products that I added just a minute ago to my nonprofit price book, those are the only ones that I could add here. So I'll go ahead and click Save. And I'm going to sell them some laptops, some printers, and a service level agreement. Now for each of these that I'm adding to the opportunity, I need to set a quantity. So maybe we'll say 50 for the laptops, 10 for the printers, and just one service level agreement. I could add a date, I could add a line description if I want to, but I'll go ahead and save. Now you'll notice this amount field is no longer editable. It's now the total of the price times the quantity of all of my products. So that takes care of my product and my custom price book, but we want to add another layer to this. So let's add to my scenario. Let's say we've had a conversation with a customer and they are interested in this service level agreement, but it's kind of a hefty price tag for them. They would like to spread their payments out over time. And this can be accomplished with product schedules. If you set a quantity schedule, this determines when a product is delivered. So with a quantity schedule, you pay all at once, but then receive the product in increments, kind of like a magazine subscription. Maybe I pay at the beginning of the year, and then I receive the product monthly. A revenue schedule determines when the product is paid for. So you receive the product all at once, but then you pay for it over time. Kind of like when you purchase a car, you get the whole car all at once, but you make payments for it over time. You might also choose a quantity and revenue schedule where you both make payments over time and receive products incrementally, like the Wine of the Month Club, where maybe I'm making monthly payments, but I also receive my wine monthly. Now, when you work with product schedules, there are kind of a couple options for how you handle it, and it's really going to depend on how often customers will use this. So maybe you decide at AW Computing, every single customer who purchases a support plan, we're going to have them pay quarterly instead of having them pay for it all at once. And if that's something that is always going to apply for those particular products, I can set a default schedule on the product itself. And if I do this, I'll need to first add some schedule fields to the page layout of the product. And then I set it on the product, and every time that product is added to an opportunity, that schedule is the one that applies unless I choose to edit it. But for us, let's say we're doing this just based on a customer request. So if a customer requests this, sure, we'll set up a revenue schedule, but we're not going to do it on every single one of our products. So a couple different ways that this could go. Next, what I'm going to do is get back into my org here and set up product schedules. Now, product schedules are something that first need to be enabled in setup. So going back into my setup tab, going back to my home tab, I'm going to click find schedules, and here I'll see my product schedule settings. So I have some options here. Do I want to do quantity? Do I want to do revenue? The customizable one allows you to actually create custom fields for schedules, but I don't need anything like that at this point. I just want to enable revenue scheduling, and I'm also going to check this box to enable it for all of my products. Now, checking the second box doesn't mean that every single product is going to have an established schedule at this point. It's just like saying we can use a revenue schedule on any of our products once I check this box. And then I'll click Save. So now that that's enabled, if I come back to the front end of my tool and I refresh my page, I will see if I click on my product, I'll go ahead and click on that service level agreement. Here, if I click on the related tab, I see this option to establish a schedule. So it didn't assign a schedule already. It has given me this ability to set one up. So based on my conversation with this Edge Communications with this customer, I can set up a schedule. So I'll go ahead and click Establish Schedule. We'll set a start date for January 1st, since I'm hoping to close this opportunity at the end of this month. Revenue is still $24,000. And then what do I want my installment period to be? I'm going to check quarterly. So they'll make quarterly payments on this, which means 4 quarters in a year, they're going to have 4 total installments. So for number of installments, I'll say 4. And then for my last question here, my schedule type. What do I want to do? Do I want to take this $24,000 and divide it into multiple installments? Or are they paying $24,000 at each installment? And it's not the second one, it's the first one. I'm going to divide this up into my multiple installments, and then I'll save. And there's my product schedule. So rather than paying the $24,000 all at once, now they're paying $6,000 in January, $6,000 in April, in July, and October. So breaking it up into those 4 different payments. Now from here, I could reestablish the schedule. Maybe they want it monthly instead. I could edit, or I could delete the schedule if they decide it's no longer needed. So there's my revenue schedule. The last thing I want to do is go ahead and put all of this together. Give me 1 minute, I'll get back to my slides. And last topic we want to talk about is quotes in Salesforce. Now think about if you've ever received a price quote, maybe a price quote for insurance, or maybe you're having some work done on your home or on your car. And think about the type of information that was on it. It was probably the products or services that they were recommending with their prices. That's exactly what a quote record is in Salesforce. It's a record showing the proposed prices for products and services. It's created from an opportunity and its products. So those products from the opportunity are added to the quote. And then it puts everything together for us. So on that particular quote, I could add products, I could edit them, maybe give a discount, and then add my shipping, add my taxes, and we can see everything together in a PDF. When I create these quote records, each one of them is auto-numbered. So each one of these quote records gets a unique number. Now you may have multiple quotes that get associated with one opportunity. Think of the initial offer, and then maybe there's some negotiation. So you have quote 2 that has a few changes. Maybe some products are removed, others are added, and others are discounted. You can have multiple quote records, and then the final quote can have the agreed upon products and the negotiated discounts. When you have these quotes and they're associated with the opportunity, you might also choose to sync a quote with your opportunity. And syncing a quote links the quote to the opportunity it was created from, and it syncs updates between the two, which means if I make changes on the opportunity, maybe I add a new product, it syncs to the quote. If I make an adjustment on the quote line item, it syncs to the opportunity as well. Here's what I want you to remember about opportunity and quote syncing. While one opportunity can have multiple quotes associated, only one can be synced at a time, just one synced at a time. And then once it's complete, what you can do is generate that PDF with all of the details, and you can email that to your customer. So last piece of my demo, putting all of this together with our quote. For this one, I do need to go back into setup one more time to enable quotes. So from setup, I'll go to my home tab in setup. I'll click find quote settings, and then I'll click enable. It's asking me what page layouts I want this added to, and I'll go ahead and add it to all of my opportunity layouts. And if users have personalized their own related lists in Lightning, I'll just add that to their related lists. I'm sorry, that's done in Classic. I'll add that, and then I'll click Save. So quotes are enabled. I'll go ahead and go back into the front end of my tool, give it a quick refresh, and then come back to my opportunity that I've been working on, my Edge Office opportunity. And if I scroll down to the bottom of my related list, I have my quotes here, and I can click this down arrow and add a new quote. So I'll go ahead and call this one Initial Offer. Maybe we'll set the expiration date to a week from now and set it to It Needs Review for the status. Now, when I create quotes, I always want to check this syncing option here, this checkbox. That's actually done with an action on the quote itself. So I'll show you that syncing option in just a moment. I'll go ahead and add some tax, some shipping and handling, and then I'll save my quote. So my initial offer was created. Now this quote at this point is not yet synced with my opportunity. So if I were to make a change here, nothing happens on my opportunity yet. But let's say in discussions with the customer, they say, you know what, I think we'd like more printers. So I'm going to go to my printer on my quote line item, and I'll go ahead and change the quantity from 10 to 15, and I'll go ahead and offer them a discount of 10% just on the printers, and then I'll click Save. Now, if I were to sync this to my opportunity, which I can do by clicking this down arrow and clicking this Start Sync, now this change, once I sync it, will be reflected on my opportunity. So I'll go ahead and click Continue here. I'm okay with the sync, just letting me know it updates my products on the opportunity. Now, maybe there's more negotiation, maybe there's more back and forth, and a second quote record is added. If I sync that next quote record, it will stop the sync on this one because only one can be synced at a time. Or maybe the customer is good with this and they accept the quote. And if that's the case, I can go ahead and create this PDF. So I'll zoom in so y'all can see what this looks like. It has my products, their prices, their quantity, the discount, all of the shipping, the handling, the tax, and then it puts everything together. So if all of that looks good, I can save it to the quote as a PDF, or I can save and email the quote to the customer. That takes us to the end of our sales deal. Now here are my few takeaways, and then we'll move to our question and answer. Takeaways, things I want you to remember for the exam. When you're adding products to an opportunity, they all need to come from the same price book. Your standard products or standard price book is all of your products with their standard price book. with their standard prices, custom price books. Those are some of your products, could be all, with their custom or list prices. Schedules can be used to determine different payment and or delivery cycles. And while an opportunity can have multiple quote records associated with it, only one can be synced at a time. Now, at this point, we do have a little bit of time for some Q&A. But while we're doing that, I do want to remind all of you that we have a link to a survey that will be posted in the chat. We would love to hear your feedback about this session. So if all of you would take just a few minutes to complete that survey, we'd really appreciate that feedback. Tracy, what questions can I answer?
Hi, Caitlin. We have had some really great questions coming in throughout the session. The first one that I wanted to share with you is from Christy. Christy asks, what does the use standard price checkbox do when you were creating the product?
That's a good question. And I have not used that on my product as well. Let me go look at my products. I think this one, and I don't know if this was editable in mine, this should give me the option here. Let me see if I can get back there, Tracy. Or let me go just create a new product.
Okay, and we can't see your screen right now.
Oh, thank you. I will share that again. I'll pull that up and see if I can get back there to look at. Was that on, and maybe I think it was Christy who asked this, can remind me, was that where I was adding the price to the price book or adding my standard price? I know what checkbox she's talking about.
I believe it's when you added a product to a custom price book.
Cool, let's take a look. So here, this option to use my standard price, that's like saying maybe in this custom price book, I'm adding that here, but I'm not actually offering a different price in this price book. So maybe my custom price book, I want to offer special prices for some of my products, but other products, I'm going to use the standard price. But that option is there because all of those products have to come from the same price book. So maybe to this one particular customer, Edge Communications, I do want to offer desktops, but instead, I'm not really going to give a discount on that particular product. I just need the custom price book to give a discount on other products. Hopefully that helps answer your question. That's a good one.
I had another question from John, and John asked if it was possible to group multiple product levels. So we've got the product family and then adding like a subgroup or multiple subgroups from that product family.
You can. I'd have to play around with how the field dependencies would work. I think that should work because the standard pick list field can be a controlling pick list. So what you would do is just add a custom field to the product object, and maybe it would be like subfamily. So maybe that's particular brand of desktop, particular brand of laptop. And then you could create a field dependency where product family is the controlling, and then whatever your custom pick list field is, it's your dependent pick list. That'd be a great way to better organize.
All right, great. I have two more questions for you. One is, can we set up a quote to automatically sync by default so that the rep doesn't have to remember to select it?
That is a good question, and I would have to research that one. I think it's possible. Whether or not we can do it declaratively or not is always the big question. Maybe Tracy and I can kind of jot that down as a takeaway, and that one I would have to research if that's something we could accomplish with one of our automation tools declaratively.
All right, perfect. And last question from Alex. How can price books be controlled from a security perspective? Are they just like any other object, or do we use something different to control them?
That's a great question. So they are similar to other objects in that you do first set the org-wide defaults, but the org-wide default options are actually going to be different than some of the other ones we see. So think about if you're setting org-wide defaults for calendars, we still set the org-wide defaults, but the options are different there. With price books, I have options to use, So everyone can use them. They can add products from them. View only, they can see them, but not necessarily add products from them, or no access. But again, that's just my default. And then I believe it is at the profile level that I could give more specific access. I can look that up really quickly and confirm. So first the org-wide defaults, and then you can give extended access beyond that for people who need that access. Great questions.
I think we have time for maybe one more question, maybe.
Yep, and while we wait for that question, I did a quick Google while you were talking, Caitlin, about auto-syncing quotes. It looks like it can definitely be done programmatically, and it can possibly be done declaratively with Flow.
Awesome, thank you. Flow is going to be my guess. That's helpful. And then I did just look up a follow-up to the last one. When you're giving access to price books, I do want to clarify. It's actually done. So I set the base level of access, and then it looks like I can give access to a particular price book through sharing, and it can be done through like roles, and subordinates for sharing for price books. So a little bit different, but we'll still set the org-wide defaults for that. Great questions. Anything else?
That's the end of my list.
Awesome. Well, just another quick reminder to take that survey if you haven't done so already. If you want to join future sessions kind of like this one, I encourage you to check out Trailhead Live. We have lots of cert prep sessions under the Learn tab on Trailhead. And I think we are close to the end of our time. So I want to say thank you so much from all of us for spending your time with us today. Hope you learned a lot. Thanks for joining us, and we would love to see you at a future event. Thanks, everyone.